Hello, all. Welcome to A Day for Adventure, the premier podcast to get you off your butt and outside. I'm Will.
I'm Trevor.
And I'm Ben.
And why should you listen to us? Well, we'll be giving you tips and advice to get you outside, have fun outside, and stay safe outside. We all come from different outdoor backgrounds. For example, I come from more of a camp counselor background, working directly with youth to get them outside and having the best experiences they can.
I also come from a similar background of camp counseling. I've worked at council camps in scouting and national camps at scouting.
My experience is mostly in outdoor sports education, but a lot of outdoor sports.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of a blend. All of us come from a space scouting background, and we have done some pretty fun adventures, from backpacking in New Mexico to canoeing between the boundary waters of the US and Canada, and everything from a small to day hikes and taking kids out to look at and have fun with nature. So let's get into the beginning. Why should you go outside? So we have one of the biggest reasons is the health benefits, as one of the best sources of vitamin D is sunlight. In general, when you're heading outside, you'll be having increased movement. It's very easy to stay on your butt when you're inside. When you're outside running around, it's a little bit harder. We have some stress relief. Some doctors actually have been deciding to have you walk in the woods to clear the blues, and it has been seen to improve memory. So we have a few of those health benefits that encourage you, but we also have some more.
Another big one is challenges, just overcoming challenges, being faced with challenges that you might not normally get inside. And especially coming from a scouting background, we use those outdoors experiences to challenge our scouts, whether it be day or week-long events.
Yeah, because nature doesn't fit for your own wishes. So sometimes you'll be outside and it will be a beautiful day, life will be good, life will be easy. But you have times of challenge when the weather may turn poorly. It may start storming or hailing, especially hailing. But these challenges end up becoming opportunities to grow and become better. So the more challenges you face, the better you'll be at facing even more of them. And outside is a great way to put yourself out there and really give yourself opportunities to grow.
Another thing about going outside is building camaraderie with other people. The three of us, we've been friends for a pretty long time. We met on all these outdoor adventures that we've done, and we're actually all now in college in different places, and we're still good friends even today. We've built up a couple of inside jokes amongst ourselves. We've been able to we've gone through thick and thin. We've had to improvise sometimes, and we've had to do those kind of character building, the team building, the thinking outside the box kind of stuff outside, and we've done it together. That is a really big part of going outside and doing all of this kind of stuff that we don't normally get to do in our society.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to build friends and to really get to know each other by being outside and away from the screens or the distractions, and really focus on our adventures and each other. It's not easy, of course. We'll have plenty of stories later on of challenges gone wrong. Sometimes friendships are tested, but in the end, you can make friends of a lifetime. From family members who have hiked with their friends and still talk to this day, to really getting to know people in a new city or a new environment. As being put outside with some of these challenges kind of helps show who people really are.
And Will just kind of mentioned stories. Just going outside gives you a lot of good stories to tell people. I know my favorite one is the icebreaker game, Two Truths and a Lie. Everyone thinks all three of mine are lies just because of the stupid stuff I've done outside.
Yeah, and the way you can phrase it, it does make it when you go to the party or the event or trying to flirt, trying air quotes, is that you can come up with things that are interesting about yourself that aren't just focused on yourself. So you can focus on the activity and use that as a connection. I mean, going from one of the things all of us have done is we've went backpacking in New Mexico. And all of us have done it at different times and done our own adventures. But when we go to someone who we've never met, and one of the first things they know from one of these icebreakers is we've gone backpacking, we build interest and makes it easier for people to give us a shot. But of course, while there are a bunch of benefits, there are a few myths that can keep people from really pursuing these outdoor adventures. And so for the next few minutes, we're going to be knocking out these myths and showing what you do need to enjoy the outdoors. And let's start with that first one. Outdoor adventures are expensive, especially because you need to buy specialized gear. This is not only false, but it really locks you away from enjoying things because of the cost.
I think one of the main things about this is that a lot of outdoor companies, they'll try and market all of their equipment in like the outdoor magazines, and all their equipment's really cool and flashy and also very expensive. And what a lot of people don't realize is that that's just like the best of the best equipment. And for 90% of people, they don't need the best of the best equipment. My first set of hiking boots was an $83 set of boots that is about 1/4 the cost of what many boots are. They weighed probably more than they probably should have, but they were the second best pair of shoes I've ever had in my life.
I mean, and if you're getting started with hiking or camping, your tennis shoes work. A lot of the gear needed and the gear that is advertised is usually meant for adventures at a much higher level. If you're going just for a day hike, you'll be fine in tennis shoes. As long as you bring a change of socks if your shoes get wet, you should be fine if you're keeping the mileage low. If you're going camping, I mean, the tent and the sleeping bag may be a little tougher investments, but one, a lot of the gear is rentable, especially if you need more specialized equipment, including better backpacking tent or climbing gear. A lot of that stuff is rentable and you can use without having to invest in it. And when you do buy gear, it's a longer term investment. My sleeping bag was $120. It is not $120. That was my hiking boots were $120. Sleeping bag was around $90. But the sleeping bag has lasted me 5, 6, 7 years. My hiking boots lasted me through multiple hiking and then working through a staff camp where I was hiking 60 to 70 miles a week. This gear is expensive, but it's meant to last a long time.
Yeah, I would very much so agree with that. My new pair of hiking shoes I got about 2 years ago, I think I've probably put 800 plus miles on, and they are still going strong. They've probably got another 800, 1,000 miles in them without really any maintenance whatsoever. So it kind of goes to show that, yes, some of this equipment might be expensive, but you're probably not going to have to worry about replacing it for a long time unless you're one of those people who is obsessed with having the best of the best of the best of the best equipment. But what's the fun in that?
Another good thing to look into is getting gear from friends. So in college, I'm part of my school's outdoor adventure club. And so I've been climbing with them. It's mainly a rock climbing club. I've been climbing with them for about 2 years now. and I don't own any of my own rock climbing gear. I use a mixture of my friend's gear and some club gear that we have bought with funds the school gave us.
Yeah, and like any hobby, this is a longer term idea. Just like you wouldn't want to spend a multi-thousand dollar camera when you're just starting out, you don't need to spend a multi-hundred-dollar backpack or even tent when you're just starting out. All of this is investing more time. So if you want to try it, it's a lot cheaper than you think. In addition to this idea of a lot of specialized gear, there's also this idea that you need a lot of training. Now, while that is needed for some riskier adventures, I would not recommend doing your own climbing without getting trained, or doing a remote long-distance backpacking trip without getting trained with wilderness first aid. But you do have opportunities to learn both online for your basic skills. I mean, almost all the basic knots, cooking gear skills, even how to set up a tent, you could find on YouTube. And of course, you could learn through the School of Hard Knocks, because all of this is a learning process. Every time you go out there, you're going to learn something about yourself, and likely you're going to learn that the hard way.
Yeah, so in scouting, all of the kids that we teach, usually they come into scouting first when they get out of or first when they start elementary school. So we're teaching a bunch of like 11 and 12-year-olds how to camp, how to tie knots, how to cook, and it never goes right the first time. And also, these aren't day events, these are weekend events too. So learning it through failure is honestly how all three of us learned how to do anything.
That is so true.
Getting that tent soaked because you didn't put the ground pads correctly, or
dropping your spaghetti in gravel,
or losing a canoe paddle,
or someone pulling the plug on a rowboat.
Oh boy. Basically, we've done a lot of stupid stuff, but we've also learned a lot through our mistakes. And that happens, again, this is a longer term thing. Trying it out, you're going to struggle a little, but after those but you will still find the fun. And when you get better, you can enjoy it even more. But you could also enjoy it with other people, but you don't need to. There's this kind of idea that you need this large group or large trek to really do these adventures. One, that's not true. One, even going out by yourself is possible, especially when you're doing these lighter hikes of going to your local park or going out around the neighborhood and trying to find some nature. All of these are possible to do by yourself. However, we do recommend you bring someone else when you really go into the backcountry or you're doing something you're not familiar with, just as a safety thing. It really sucks if you get hurt and you don't have a way to get help.
Yeah, a big thing when I'm out at school is we'll do weekend treks just as friends. And sometimes we do these big group ones, but I've had plenty of times where it's just me and two of my other friends. We jumped in a car, drove 30 minutes, and just went camping at the state park that's right by us.
Yeah, that's a very common misconception, is that you need a lot of people. And I think that comes from a lot of the bigger organizations, all the big trips, the ones that people take for 2 or 3 months, where they've got a massive trek of people. And the truth is that for most situations, you can do things by yourself. You can do them preferably with maybe 1 or 2 other friends. But, like in Boy Scouts, we were always in large groups. So that's always it's not unseen. It's just, you don't need to be with a ton of other people. And sometimes it's more enjoyable when you're with less people. And sometimes it's more enjoyable when you're with more people. So you guys kind of you have to understand what your personality is. Do you like being with a lot of people? You can probably find a group. of people to go on some event with. Maybe you can go on a Facebook group.
Yep. If you're looking for more people to go outside with or to travel with, there are a lot of outdoor groups either through Facebook or Meetup or even around. If you're in college, there may be an outdoor club. If not, just honestly asking around. There's more people who are open to it than you think. And as long as you're not doing something crazy, you can likely introduce new people gradually and get them in.
And if you're doing it at school, it's quite easy to start a group at most universities. At my college, it's 5 people and a faculty advisor. So if you want to really put it out there and you really want to go outside, just starting a group at your college is easy, because then you can get funding from the school.
And if you want to head out, you don't need to travel far. There are plenty of beautiful and fantastic local and state parks that are likely ones that you haven't even heard of. Honestly, a Google search of parks or camping grounds in your area can highlight a bunch of things and a bunch of opportunities to go on your adventure. I mean, the national forests, for example, allow primitive camping anywhere on the property. And if you're in a city, this does get a little bit more challenging, but you can still try to find biking and walking paths and local parks. You may have to go out some more to get into the real camping, but you should be able to find at least a few spots of green to have some fun in.
You know, traveling a long distance is, we've done that before and all of that. But honestly, some of the best memories I've ever had doing any forms of adventures are things very close by. And that's the thing is, when if you can do stuff around your town, your city, your college, your high school, even, I don't know, you can do all of those kind of things around you. There's so many things that you don't know are going on, or so many cool places that are so close to you've never been, that if you didn't maybe go and try and plan something to go through it, or you didn't just do it, you were never going to find that place otherwise. So, there's a lot of hidden gems that people don't really take advantage of. There's a lot of public parks that people don't take advantage of. There's just so many things that you can take advantage of in around you that people don't often notice, and you might have an amazing time there. You just have to get out and do it, right?
Yeah, when you're looking at your hometown, your city, one of the best adventures is to go and try to explore it like you don't know the place. As when you come in with an open mind, it can become easier to find those unknown or hidden gems. But you have to just commit to it. Like Ben said, you got to keep going. And like any outdoor adventure, you'll have your highs and your lows. You'll find some awesome things. You'll find some weak things. But the adventure, those highs and lows are what make an adventure memorable. And even if it's just around your neighborhood, it is worthwhile to just take that step to get out. And like we said, with our specialized gear, more camping gear is not better. Like with traveling and with our gear, less is a lot of times more. As honestly, the biggest thing with outdoors is being adaptable. You can plan around what you don't have. You don't have that fantastic backpack? Go borrow a school backpack. Borrow a friend's hiking bag. Take a duffel bag and use the handles as straps. I've seen people do all of that.
Yeah, big thing. Both times I've gone out to the national high adventure bases and scouting, I've only brought a full, real, expensive backpack once, and I borrowed it from my friend because I couldn't afford my own. All the other times I've gone out with my dad's old military duffel bag and a day pack.
Yeah, it's actually will become easier, and once you become more experienced, to pack less. So once you can rely on your own skills, you start learning how to reuse multiple tools, and also when you pack less stuff, it's easier to go farther.
And it becomes cheaper.
Yup, because now you don't have to spend that money on gear or spend that money on extra travel. So you can just go out and have your adventure and make it worthwhile.
Yeah, and one of the best parts about having like your camping gear very simplified is it just makes the entire packing process way faster. It takes like some people will spend weeks and weeks and weeks planning their entire like kit of everything they're going to bring, and then they go out and use it and they realize, and don't worry, I've done this many times. I did this the first 2 high adventures I went to, I overpacked. They realize once they get out there, they don't use 2/3 or half of what they brought out there. So it's like, why go out with all this extra equipment that you don't need from the start? That's very expensive, right? Why bring it when you can just keep yourself lightened down? In fact, the second high adventure that was that I went to, that would have been the Boundary Waters. I ended up I brought a little bit more than I should have, but then I put a lot of it away before I actually went on the trek, and I was so thankful I did, because I didn't have to worry about any of it. I learned from the mistakes I had made the first time, and I learned from the mistakes I made the second time, so that when I went back to New Mexico, I had planned out like my gear a little bit better. Then I get there, and then the guide is like, "You need more stuff," and I'm like, "No, I don't." And then I never needed any of the stuff that he was so adamant that I bring. All this extra weight that I didn't need because of the possibility I might need it. But, you take 5 minutes to go, well, maybe somebody else on my trek is going to have it that I can maybe borrow theirs if I really need it. So that's something that is really important is, if you're working with other people, plan around them as well. Don't just plan around having everything for yourself, because it's not all about you. It's about the group. If you're in a group, if you're by yourself, plan around it. If you don't have a stove, just make sure you're going to campsites that have fire pits and reliable dry material, and maybe some fuel.
Speaking of planning, for our next episode, listen for how to plan your first day hike. I know that can seem pretty intense of actually taking that step, but since we are kind of stuck indoors with this COVID-19, we will give you the ability that once we're allowed to head outside and go on these adventures, you will be planned and ready. So for the next episode, listen for how to plan your first day hike. Then after that, we have our first gear list, where we will give you our gear recommendations and give you a nice verbal list of what you may need for your own day hike. So now go find your backpack and get ready for some adventure.